All right, so good morning, everybody. Uh, Today, we're going to learn a command very similar to the fillet command, but what it does is it instead of rounding edges, it kind of flattens them here. So here I have, say, two lines. Just drawing two lines here that intersect at a 90-degree angle here, although they can intersect at any angle. And then the edge here has just been sort of chiseled away here, and we have a dimension here of 1 by 1. So before, when we wanted to do this, we'd take our two lines, and our only real way of doing this is some kind of scaffolding. So maybe I draw a rectangle, I make that rectangle 1 by 1, then I would take my line, snap it here to here, then I have to go through and trim all this other stuff away. Let me trim all that away. Let me do that. So it's difficult to do. So obviously there's a much better way. There we go. So there's a much better way. And that way is called the chamfer command. And there is a tool for it here on our toolbar if you forget it. And it's right next to the fillet command. So chamfer, C-H-A-M-F-E-R. And there's a couple different flavors of chamfer. So if we were to start with, we'll go up here. So our first example here is a chamfer of 1 by 1. So I first draw my lines, I run my chamfer command, and CHA is the shortcut for it. And then looking at our command line here, we can see I'm in my chamfer command. I am currently in trim mode. We'll talk about that in a moment. And then I have a current chamfer length and an angle. Underneath that, we can see we have a number of commands here. It's asking me to select my first line, and I have a number of different things here. I'm going to hit D for distance. And the reason I'm going to hit D for distance is because the chamfer that I'll be doing first only has distances. I have a distance of 1 on one side and then a distance of 1 on the other. So it's saying chamfer, specify chamfer distance. So I'm going to do my first distance of 1, hit enter, and then my second distance I'll also do of 1, hit enter. And then now I click on my lines in the same order that I wanted them to be chamfered. So it's 1 by 1, so it really doesn't matter which one I click first since they're both the same. But I'm going to click my first line, click my second line, and it will automatically angle it for me. So I'm going to do one that's a little bit more complex. So say here I just have two random lines. Delete all this. I'm going to run my chamfer command again. I'm going to hit distance and say this time I'm going to do a distance of 1.5 for my first edge and then 0.75 for my second edge. So now say this first line is the one that I want to do the 1.5. So I'm going to click that as my first line, and then the second line will be the 0.75. So I'll click on that, and then it has automatically cut that away. So if I were to dimension this from where my original point was, I would have 1.5 as my first one, and then 0.75 on the next. So again, really quick, easy way of angling your edges. All right, then it also works on polygons. So just like our fillet command did, I can do our chamfer, and I'll keep all the same settings as I had before. So it remembers that I was doing a distance chamfer, and it remembered that I'm at 1.5 and 0.75. So I'm going to hit P for polyline. I'm going to click on my polyline, and it has automatically chamfered my edges. It couldn't chamfer these ones up here because they weren't long enough. So it only chamfered those other ones. I'll make a bigger rectangle to demonstrate what that would look like otherwise. There we go. So now it's chamfered all of my edges 1.5 by 0.75 all the way around. So again, really quick, easy way of making huge adjustments. And then just to review our polyline or P-line command, shortcut for that is just PL. And again, we can kind of do a fairly random drawing here. I'm going to hit C for close. I'll run my chamfer command again with all the same settings, hitting P for polyline, and now I can chamfer all the edges on that all at the same time. Another thing I want to show you, which you can also do in fillet, but I neglected to show you yesterday. Say I run my chamfer command. I'm going to do a dimension of, say, 0.5 by 0.75. Looking at the bottom here, there's also M for multiple. So normally when you run your chamfer command or fillet command, it only runs the command once. If I hit M for multiple, it's going to remain in the command until I enter out of it. So what this is nice is, say I want to do all of these angles here, I can go around and click them all individually. Or I want to do this one, say the opposite direction. I can do that well. So as long as I hit M for multiple, I can keep on chamfering multiple edges, and then once I'm done, hitting enter. Okay, bear with me. I've got one last command to show you here on chamfer. And that's if, let's say, you have a dimension and an angle. So here I have a chamfer of 1 going down, but instead of the distance here, I don't have a distance. Instead, I just have an angle. So this would be much harder to draw manually. Thankfully, chamfer makes it easy. So again, I'm just going to do a nice right edge here. I'm going to run my chamfer command. And before we hit D for distance, next we're going to hit A for angle. Now it's still going to ask us for a distance, because we need to have a distance and an angle. So I'm going to go a distance of 1. And then it's going to ask me what my angle is, and here's where I'll put my angle of 15. Then we click on the line that we want to do our distance measurement from first, so that was this line here, and then our second line will be the one that we're going to do the angle. So I'll click on this, and now that's perfectly chamfered. If I do a angular measurement here, we can see we've got 15 degrees coming off of there. So any questions on the chamfer command? The only other thing that I wanted to show you, which again I should have shown you yesterday because it applies to fillet as well. Let's say we want to run our chamfer command, but for whatever reason we want to keep our existing rectangle intact. So I want to draw lines going through there, but I don't want to trim away what I already have. So in order to do that, we're going to hit T for trim, and it says here now enter trim mode, and I've got trim or no trim, so I'm going to hit no trim. And this, again, this will work with fillet as well. Sometimes if you have fairly complex drawings, by putting your trim on, it's going to trim away parts of your drawing that you want to keep. So it's best to maybe just have your trim off, do the modifications that you need, and you can actually go through and trim away what you needed to before that. So I have my trim off now. I'm going to do a distance of, say, 1 by 1 here, and I'm going to apply it to my entire rectangle here, so I'll do my P for polyline. And now when I hit my thing here, we can see I have my chamfer lines, but it kept my corners on here because I had my trim mode turned off. Okay, that's all I need to know. Questions? Excellent.